Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pacers Daily. I'm your host, Hery Acosta. It is official. Bennedict Matherin is going to be the starting shooting guard in 2025. Now, let's be real. We all knew this was going to happen. After Halliburton went down, who else was going to jump into that number two, especially with Nembhard going over to the one? It was going to be Matherin. Matherin is the second, third best scorer on this team, whether he's on the bench, whether he's in the starting lineup. He averages a consistent wouldn't really say consistent, but around 15 points a game. He can be a double-double threat. He likes to grab rebounds. Not a bad passer. Someone who sometimes doesn't always take the best shot. There's a lot of times that he takes a contested three when there's really no need to take a contested three. Very good mid-range shooter. Very good in the paint. Likes to draw fouls. Honestly, in my opinion, one of the best in the league at actually getting to the free throw line. Very up and down with his free throws. We saw in the finals just that one performance where he ended up costing us the game at the end, game 4. Just too many missed free throws. That would have put the series away. But, I mean, obviously the Pacers didn't have their best fourth quarter, and it kind of came back to bite us. But, can't fully put the blame on Matherin missing all those free throws. But looking forward to him hopefully having an 18 to 20 point a game season. That would be great. That'd be wonderful for the Pacers, actually. We need as much scoring as we can out of him. We also are going to need consistent rebounding from his position. He is one of the better rebounders at the two guard. So this is very exciting. I'm very happy to see what Matherin can do in the starting lineup. Just turned 23, so he's still very young. Was only the 6th pick back in 2022. Had a very successful third season, but now it's time to keep on improving. And I'm going to go right over to Rick Carlisle. He was the one that dropped the news about Matherin being the starter. And he also kind of talked a little bit about how the game has changed, like kind of how the NBA has changed, how the Pacers don't have a traditional superstar. My opinion is that Halliburton is a superstar, and Siakam is as much of a star as anyone. But when we're talking about traditional superstars like the Giannis's, the LeBrons, the Luka Doncic, the Jokic, Shea, maybe we don't have a player at that caliber that gets all the foul calls, that gets the absolutely absurd stat lines. But what we do have is a team. Now, I don't know if I've ever mentioned kind of like who I really compared the Pacers to. Now, obviously, kind of like the 2011 Mavs, because, that team made it way further than they should have, and they won. But I kind of like to compare them a little bit to the 2004 Pistons. Now, not necessarily the defense. The 2004 Pistons one of the best defensive teams of all time. Obviously, Defensive Player of the Year, Ben Wallace. Rasheed was a dog on defense. Rip Hamilton was a good defender. Tyshawn Prince was a good defender. Billups was a good defender for a point guard. But more of like the overall team game, the team chemistry. No All-NBA first team member, no All-NBA second team member. We had an All-NBA third team, but just a bunch of guys that play together, that know each other's strengths, know each other's weaknesses, and just played the game of basketball and made as far as they did, which is kind of how people viewed the 2004 Pistons. They got to that finals against the Lakers, which had 4 Hall of Famers, 4 top 75 players. Obviously, Malone was way out of his prime, and so was Gary Payton. But everyone still had that team sweeping the Pistons. Now, Pistons ended up winning that in 5. Malone had all those injuries. Peyton was in and out of the lineup as well. But that's kind of how I view the Pacers a little bit. Now, I'm very excited to see this. I'm very excited to see Nembhard and Matherin play together a lot of minutes. Now, they weren't really in the lineup too much together just because Nembhard was always one of the first people off the court, and Matherin would normally come in for him. Matherin or Shepherd normally come in. But now that they're going to play together, it is going to be a very fun 1-2 guard play combo. I think Nembhard can find Matherin open whenever. They're going to obviously have to share that floor with Neesmith and with Siakam, who are two players who are also going to open up that floor very well. Now, the pick and roll game with Jackson's also going to be very nice. Very excited to see how that goes. Jackson's a very strong body that you're going to need in the paint, especially against bigger centers. So that's going to be very fun to watch. But I'm just really looking forward to kind of just see how the consistency kind of arises just between the way Matherin and Nembhard play together. They're both players that can create their own shots. Now, the NBA is not full of so many players that create their own shots. There's a lot of catch and shoot. But these two, with their dribbling, with their passing, with the way they space the floor, both of them can create their own shot at any point. So that is something to look forward to, especially with the Pacers, especially that Rick Carlisle can look forward to, messing around with those rotations, seeing how the guards will do. And that kind of brings me to the last topic. There is some good depth with the guards. Obviously now we have McConnell as our backup guard and Ben Shepherd as the backup too. And then with Cam Jones, with Taylen Peter, we have crazy good depth. And even if you want to put Furphy at the 2, even though Furphy mostly plays the 3, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good season. And there's a lot of players that can average career highs this year just because of how the ball is going to spread out a little bit. Now, will the team kind of shift back a little bit when Halliburton comes back the next season? Yeah, absolutely. But right now, this is when everyone needs to shine, because not only is this the season where everyone is capable of putting up career highs, it's also kind of like a tryout to see who's going to continue to be part of that rotation in 2026, 2027 when Halliburton comes back and know he's going to jump right back into that one spot. So everyone needs to show up. Everyone needs to play their hearts out. We know how the Pacers have been with their second-round picks over the last few years. They pretty much give you a year or two to kind of try to figure it out, and if they don't see you really doing anything, bye-bye. Obviously, Enrique Freeman's now with the Timberwolves, so is Tristan Newton. Kendall Brown was with the Nets, but he's not in the league anymore. So Peter is really going to have to show what he's worth. Cam Jones will stick around. I think he'll at least make it past this season. And then the season that he really needs to show up will be his second. Just kind of see how he does. But, it's going to be very exciting to see the guards and just how they share the floor and just kind of how they open up the game. I already know McConnell's going to play his game. Shepard's going to be a defensive menace like always, good 3-and-D player. But it's just everyone else, just to kind of see how they do. Ray J. Dennis, Quentin Jackson, other players that will fit into that guard depth. That kind of third-string lineup is going to be all over the place just to kind of see who's going to get those minutes. But as always, I'm your host, Hery Acosta. This is Pacers Daily. Boom, baby, and go, Sirs.